Hi everyone, this is Autopostrophe. Let's continue our game of Fatal 12 on Nintendo Switch.
さあさあリータ、お昼ご飯の時間だよ。
Mao darts over to my desk as soon as the bell for lunch break rings.
今朝は朝ごはんを食べてなかったからお腹が空いてもう限界。
朝ごはん食べてないのはいつもでしょ。じゃあ美晴にも声を。
にゃ、みはるんは今日奨学金の説明か何かで先生のところに行かなくちゃいけないんだって。で、さっき先生がみはるんのこと呼んでたの聞いてなかったか。
あ、そういえば先生に呼ばれてたような。
リータンは相変わらず変なところで抜けてるな。なので今日は2人だよ。
She grabs my hand and drags me along to the cafeteria.
リータン、今日はパンじゃないんだね。
ああ、なんとなく。マオもだね。
うちはリータンがご飯券にしたから合わせたのだよ。
Mao has opted for karage this time around while I've gone with curry. We don't normally go for this kind of stuff since we need to carry it all the way to the rooftop, but I wanted something with a strong flavor today, so I picked this without too much thought.
リータンは辛いの苦手だと思ってたけどカレーなんだね。
いや、辛いのも甘いのも好きだよ。極端に辛かったりやたら甘かったりするのが好きじゃないだけ。
知ってたよ。
Mao nods her head multiple times in an attempt to seem all-knowing. I dismiss it with a smile. As I smile, I remove the packaging on my curry. If I didn't do it now, odds are I might actually forget to eat while talking with Mao.
疲れてるんだね、リータンも。
どうしたの急に。
いや、だってスプーン忘れてるからさ。
あ、
You can pick up chopsticks and spoons at your leisure in the cafeteria, but it completely slipped my mind that I'd need one. All I have is a small hand towel.
ではそのおしぼりとこれを交換してあげよ
She produces the plastic spoon from within the plastic bag she has with her. She hands it over to me in exchange for my towel.
う。さて、マオ様と呼びなさい。
どうもありがとう、マオ様。
こうも平然と言われると面白みがないというか。
Looks like she was banking on me being not too pleased about having to bow down to her like that. I figured that was going to be her ultimate demand, hence I said it right up front.
本場のインドカレーみたいに手で食べることになっちゃうとこだったね。
Just hearing the word Indian causes Alan to pop in my mind for a brief moment. Fortunately, her joke is a bit on the extreme side, so my involuntary reaction works for her too. I end up spending all of the lunch break chatting away with Mao. Just as we were about to finish eating, she brings up a topic I didn't expect.
そういやさ、リータンは気づいてないかもしれないけど、ここ最近ナオリンはずっとリータンのこと気にしてるよ。
I ask her what she means, but she waves off my question and continues.
あれは完全に恋する乙女の瞳ですな。
バカ、そういう言い方はナオミに失礼でしょ。
いや、まあいいんだけどさ。最近ナオリンほったらかしにされて寂しそうだよ。
ほったらかしって、ナオミも文化祭の準備で忙しいって言ってたからさ。
ミハルンに比べればナオリンは我慢しちゃう子だからね。ともかくさ、リータン自身が最近ずーっと疲れちゃってるからさ、ちょっとは休んだ方がいいよ。リータンが元気ないと基本的にうちらみんな元気なくなるしね。リータンが今どれくらい元気がないかっていうと、スプーンを忘れるだけじゃなくてカレーを食べながら口の周りを汚しちゃうくらい。
She opens the pack containing the towel I traded for her spoon and hands it to me.
ほれ、おしぼりあげるから魔王様と呼びなさい。
魔王様。
またか。
And, yep, guess I do have curry plastered all over the left side of my mouth. Miles probably right. Everything that's happened recently has left me mentally exhausted. Even so, I doubt I'll be able to get any proper rest in the near future. After all.
まあとは言ってもリータンには魔王様のどんなアドバイスも無駄無駄無駄なのは分かっておるよ。
あんたね。
Mao jams her trash into the plastic bag before standing up.
だからせめてリータンの好きなようにすればいいさ。
ありがとう。
I am genuinely grateful to hear that from her. There's no way she could know about divine selection. Not even Maharu would divulge that sort of thing to her. And that's okay. That's how it should be. That's exactly why her words are such a relief to hear.
じゃあこれ捨てといてね。うちはミハルンのとこ遊び行ってくる。
She hands me the plastic bag and takes her leave. Once she's gone, I finish up my own lunch before following her lead. After classes end for the day, I headed out of school with the intention of going home. However, once I reached the gate, I noticed Naomi leaning against the wall with her eyes cast down. She doesn't seem to have noticed me, so I call out to her.
先輩、実は先輩を待ってたんです。私を？あれ、文化祭の準備はいいの？はい。今朝飾り付けがまだって話をしてたと思うんですけど、小物とか全然決まっていなくって。カップとソーサーをたくさん揃えると予算オーバーなので紙コップなんですけど、せめてコースターとかマドラーとかお砂糖入れとかは可愛いのがいいって。それでもしお時間あれば買い物に付き合ってくれませんか？
Budget probably isn't their only issue. I doubt they have enough people to wash mugs one by one. It's probably best that they stick with 2 disposable plastic ones anyway. What with all the hygienic issues to consider at such events. I happen to know a place that has exactly what she needs, so I don't see any harm in taking her there. I won't see Maharu until later tonight anyway, so it'll be fine as long as I keep track of the time.
大丈夫だよ。でもそれくらいならメッセージで教えてくれればよかったのに。事前に言ったら先輩に予定を空けさせちゃうんじゃないかなって思ったので、本当に時間があればでいいですから。
She trails off, drawing her eyes away from me. It's my fault that she's acting this way around me, so I can't exactly brush her off.
もう気にしなくていいのに。じゃあ行こうか。とりあえず渋谷に知ってるお店があるからそこから見てみよう。はい、ありがとうございます。
With that, we make our way to the station. After we finish our shopping trip in Shibuya, we hop on the train to head home. At Shinjuku, we have a little downtime while we wait for our transfer to arrive.
ありがとうございます。さすが先輩ですね。可愛いのがたくさん買えました。ならよかった。
Naomi struggles to make a decision in the store, so she ended up picking 3 different items for each category. Her plan is to show them to the rest of the class and then decide on which to use.
でもナオミは偉いね。リーダーって感じ？いえ、ただ私以外に仕切る人がいないから流れで私がリーダーみたいになっているだけです。そういうところが偉いねってことだよ。
She must have felt her face burn a bright red as she diverts her gaze from me immediately. From what I've heard, it sounds like she's getting along with her classmates as well. I wouldn't be surprised if her taking charge of the culture festival played a part in that. Considering how scared of me she was when we first met, she's definitely come a long way. I guess that makes her the exact opposite of me. Just as we're about to get on the train, she stabs me with a sharp glare. And then she leans in and whispers,
先輩、あの人。
She motions towards someone in the distance with enough subtlety to prevent bringing us any undue attention.
銀の髪の。銀。
My shoulders stiffen the moment I spot her. Her train hasn't arrived yet, so...
ナオミ、先帰ってて。待ってください。先輩がそんなに焦るってことは、あの子、 選定の参加者なんですよね。確か子供が2人混ざっていたって言ってました。
Numerals 4 and 10, to be precise. Sonia's been eliminated, which leaves only numeral 4. I happen to have her cause of death card, but other than that, I don't know a single thing about her. I chalk up her appearance here as a coincidence, but that's probably a mistake. Not only have Sonia and Alan turned up in Shinjuku, but now she has too. There's gotta be a reason. The foggy spots in my mind, memories regarding my cause of death, and what Parsa explained at our initial meeting are likely linked to the same reason. I shouldn't waste my time trying to figure that out right now, though.
はい、聞いてますか？ごめん、ちょっとあの子のことを考えてた。ってあれ？そういえばどうしてナオミがあの女の子を知ってるの？どこかで見たことがあるような気がして。でもそんなはずはないですよね。先輩から聞いていた情報からなんとなく想像していたんですかね。で、あれ？あの子、男の子じゃないですか？男の子かな。華奢だし、顔も女の子っぽいけど。あれ？この会話をどこかでしたような。あ、私が言いたかったのはそうじゃなくて。向こうはまだこちらに気づいていないみたいです。だったら後をつけた方がいいと。
The tone of her voice matches the serious expression on her face.
少しでも情報を持っておいた方がいいかと。あ、ごめんなさい。私余計なことを。ありがとう。私もそのつもりだったから。でも一人で行く。だからさっき先帰っててって言ったんだ。ごめんね、言葉足らずで。
Her gaze falls to the floor, and after a moment of consideration, she nods.
はい。危険があるのは分かっていますから。でも、もし写真を撮ったりして、それをもとに家での調べ物とかがあれば、私気持ちだけでもすごく嬉しいよ。ありがとう。はい。気をつけてください。
I respond with a firm nod before we part ways.
ごめんね、ナオミ。
I apologize to her under my breath after we split up. Next, I pick up my pace to keep the girl in sight. After 30 minutes of tailing her, we finally reach what seems to be her destination. Upon leaving Shinjuku Station, she takes the Chuo line all the way to the residential district. Judging by her familiarity with the area, she must live around here. She certainly doesn't look Japanese, but there aren't any hotels around here. That means she probably isn't here on a holiday with her family, unlike Sonia. That leaves only one alternative. It's hardly surprising, though. Lots of foreigners live in this area.
あの家だ。
She stops in front of, and then makes her way into one of the houses. Seems like a pretty old place, older than the houses around it anyway. Another thing that makes it stick out is how run down it is. A decent earthquake could probably shake it down with ease. I'm hardly a pro when it comes to tailing people, but I think it's safe to say I wasn't noticed. There's no need for me to escalate things yet, so I check out the nameplate at the entrance after making sure she's gone inside. It's a bit faded, but not enough to make it illegible. Ishizuka. Safe to say that's the surname of this house's owner. Does the same apply to her, though? My instinct says no. In fact, it's entirely possible that she's squatting on an empty home for some temporary lodging. Ducking behind the wall of the house next door, I try to eavesdrop on any conversation going on. Lucky for me, I'm able to hear something. Nothing specific, but the walls are thin enough to leak out the voices from inside. Sounds like there are at least two people inside. One is likely the girl, but the other sounds like an old man. I'd guess that the latter owns this place, which means the girl is probably staying with his permission. I wonder, does my card book work with conversations involving someone who isn't a participant? Considering I was able to hold a conversation with that one tourist before I even knew anything about divine selection, it's probably safe to assume it does. It's my best option for now, especially when I can't make out exactly what they're saying. Just as I'm about to walk away, a passerby starts talking to me. She's in her early 40s and is carrying a bag from the supermarket. I assume she was out buying things for dinner.
あら、
牛塚さんに用事かしら？
いえ。
I'm taken aback at first, but she might know something about that girl if she lives in the area.
この家って昔から外国人の子供が住んでいたんですか？
あら、あなたも気になる？
Her face twists into a sly grin in addition to her response. I know her type. That's the exact same expression made by the kids at school when they gossip about others.
牛塚さん、家族と縁を切ったのか、ある時期からずっと一人暮らしだったのよ。あんまり家から出ないもんだから、近所では餓死したんじゃないかって噂も頻繁に立ってたの。数日経ってフラフラしているところを見かけて、ああ、大丈夫だったなんてことよくあったのよ。高齢者の孤独死って最近増えてるらしいし、大変よね。でも一月前くらいかしら、急にあの女の子の姿を見るようになって、近所では何か複雑な事情があったんじゃないかって噂になってるのよ。昔は夜の店での遊びが激しくって隠し子がいたとか。あら、こんな話はあなたに聞かせる話じゃないわね。
That's funny. The look on her face practically screams that she wants to keep going.
じゃああの子のことは皆さん知らないんですね。
ええ。牛塚さんが海外で悪いことをしてたんじゃないかって勘ぐる人もいて、みんな関わりたがらないのよ。通報して恨まれたりしたら嫌だものね。それにあの子病気を持ってるんじゃないかって噂もあるくらいだから、みんな近寄りたがらないのよ。あなたも気をつけなさいね。最近あの人が気になってる人が多いみたいだけど。
すみません、ありがとうございました。
Just listening to her gab on and on has pissed me off. I won't judge anyone for hazarding a guess about something, but using it as an excuse to spread unsavory rumors about him feels wrong. Plenty of older people live by themselves, so why would they make comments at his expense about it? Having given her my thanks, I use it as an excuse of my own to cut the conversation off there. My hunch seems to have been on the mark, at least. I might be able to find something out about that girl if I talk to him. I should head home for now, though. I still have got the store to attend to. I make sure to message Naomi on the train home. I assume she's worried about me, all things considered. No point giving an in-depth report, so I'll just text a quick summary. It doesn't take long for her to reply, telling me to get in touch if I need help. She said something similar when we split up, too.
でもあの子と住んでいるのっておじいさんですよね。
I'm curious about her thoughts on the matter, but that would just invite the same gossip as that lady. I need to handle this on my own. It's down to me to gather as much info as I can. Instead, I simply reply with an "It's all good," to which she responds with an emoji. I need to handle this on my own. It's down to me to gather as much info as I can. What? I wonder if the sentences repeat on purpose. Or if it's just a mistake. I prep to open the store as soon as I get back. A few people swing by, but no one stays for long because it's a weeknight. Once 9 p.m. rolls around, I close up the shop. Miharu stops by around then, just like she said she would.
やあ、リンカ。お疲れ様。コーヒー入れてあげるね。
ありがとう。いいのかい？
I nod and follow up by telling her that we might be here for a while. After making enough for the both of us, I move over to our usual table.
話といってもほとんど確認だろ。
She wastes no time in getting to the meat of things. She takes a sip of her coffee before going on.
今日も美味しいよ。
ありがとう。ってそうじゃなくて、先週のあの夜ソーニャと話していたのは私の死因のカードについてもだったんだね。
そうさ。君はソフィアが君のカードを持っていることを想定していなかっただろう。しかしソフィアは悪意があってそれを言わなかったわけではないらしい。君
わかるよ。私は初めソーニャのことをすごく疑ってたから。
仕方のないことだよ。もっともだからこそ僕はソフィアに確認をした。 正確には僕たちのカードを持っているかということを。
そして実際美晴の使命のカードも持っていた。
ああ、だがソフィアは信頼されないことを恐れずに最初に言っておけばよかったと後悔はしていたようだよ。
あの子らしいね。
そうだね。その点については僕も同意だ。悲しいくらい彼女
Memories of us sitting together at this very table come flooding back. It was like we were nothing more than three friends hanging out.
僕としては11番の女性のように積極的に相手を脱落させている相手に僕のカードを取られるのは避けたかった。そしてそれ以上に君のカードを選ばれるのが怖かった。
だからソーニャを指名したんだね。
I hesitated to press the issue any further, mainly because it involves questioning how she can be so calm and collected in the face of all this. It's entirely possible that I'll hear something I don't want to if I ask. And yet, I end up asking her anyway.
美晴はどうしてそんなに冷静でいられるの？
悲しむことが本当に必要なことかい？
I can't bring myself to snap anything back to her. That's the exact response I was afraid I'd hear. It's not like I don't understand her point. I know that there's no point in being upset.
美晴はそれでいいの？
構わないよ。君が選定の参加者だと知った時から僕の気持ちは変わっていない。君のために僕の命を捧げさせてくれ。
もういい。もうそれは分かったよ。
I can't help but be blunt. While I expected such a reply, it's still not what I wanted to hear. I don't have it in me to say anything more, though.
気持ちの整理がつかないのも無理はない。昨日の今日だからね。そうやって悩めるのがきっと凛花の強さだからね。
The tone of her voice doesn't falter.
今日はもう終わりにしよう。しかし存外話が早く終わってしまったけれど僕はまだコーヒーを飲み終えていない。もう
My only response is a quick nod. Just as she said, I'm still distraught over what happened. What's worse, I seem to get more aggravated at night. I end up waiting for Miharu to finish her coffee. I can't bring myself to look her in the eye during that time, not even once.
では僕はそろそろ行くよ。
ごめん。ちょっと待って。
I stop her just as she gets ready to walk out. There's still one important question left for me to ask.
美晴の名前はいろいろあるのは分かってるけど前の名字はヘビナタなんだよね。私は美晴の名前を知っているのに三島美晴でカードは作られなくてヘビナタ美晴が美晴の使命のカードだったよね。
戸籍上の名前は僕は三島美晴だよ。
つまり私の疑問っていうのはカードが作られる基準がよくわからなくって。
ああ、君の疑問はもっともだ。そしてきっとそれは選定において女神の説明不足な部分でありルールの穴と言うべきかもしれない。
I managed to catch the brief glimpse of sadness in her expression. There's no doubt that she's not very comfortable discussing this topic, and yet she's doing her best to act unfazed for my sake. I make no effort to stop her, though. She knows that I've noticed, which is why she's bothering to explain it in the first place.
謝ろう。君には嘘を教えていた。
Her expression grows more pained as she says that. I feel kind of bad about it, so I can only imagine how she feels.
このことを説明するには僕のことをもういくらか詳しく話さなければならない。僕の名字は 両親が離婚して変わったわけじゃないんだ。別の理由で僕はヘビナタから三島になった。だが僕の母親は君の知っている通りあまり褒められた人間ではなくてね。いや、この際はっきりと言おう。僕は母親が嫌いだ。
She has talked to me about her mom before, albeit briefly. About her habit of wasting money and her failure to do any chores, for instance. That's why Miharu has several part-time jobs and has to deal with the household chores as well. Unlike most students in Amicha, she's far from financially sound. The only reason she can attend is due to her scholarship.
僕はできることなら父親の姓を名乗っていたかった。今でもそうできなくなってしまった運命を呪っている。
I sense that there's a lot more to this than she's telling me. It's likely that everything she's suffered through links back to whatever that could be.
この選定におけるカードのルールは僕は全てが論理的なものではないと思う。いわゆる認知というものに頼りすぎている。
You can't make blind guesses when it comes to someone's cause of death and regret cards. Knowledge of the events surrounding them is a requirement. Each participant's perception of those events takes priority. In other words, there's no universal criteria in place for participants when it comes to creating new cards. That's Miharu's point.
今回の場合もそうだ。僕は自分の名前が三島美春だということを受け入れていない。
だから美春のカードは海老名美春なんだね。
きっと僕の心の奥深く、夢に現れる深層心理でも同じことを思っているのだろうね。
私は論理的かもって思うよ。そもそも名前って絶対的なものじゃない。生まれたばかりの赤ちゃんには名前がないもんね。名前は誰かがつけるものだから。
If it weren't for Keiko, I probably would have agreed with Miharu. But now, this is how I truly feel. Surnames change all the time due to marriage. Not only that, but you can even get it changed legally if you're so inclined. It's not always cut and dry like that for sure, but names are still something that reflect a person's individuality over all else.
なるほど。認識自体が認知の上に成り立っているということか。僕は自分の名前に縛られていたからね。視野が狭くなっていたよ。
大げさだよ。でも疑問は解消したって感じかな。
君を混乱させてしまっていたね。
うん、みんなそれぞれいろいろあるでしょ。けど私にとって美春は美春だから、それは何にも変わることはないよ。
くす。
She giggles with a smile in response to my proclamation. And it's not a forced smile either. It is sincere, one of relief.
話は変わるけれど、運命の大広間であんなことを言ったから君に避けられないか心配していたよ。
本当に私は分かってたよ。
これで参加者のうちの何人かには僕たちが仲間割れしたと思い込ませることができたはずだ。
I have nothing more to say to you at the moment. The other participants must have figured out our friendship because of how we'd been talking to each other since the very first election. In fact, Sonia assumed that we were friends from the start too.
タイミングはバッチリだったね。
ではそろそろ行くよ。
Okay, take care. I'll see you tomorrow.
うん。また明日学校。
She smiles and makes an ever so elegant exit from the store. Funny, I made coffee thinking we'd be talking for a while, but the real conversation only began after we'd finished drinking it. I take a moment and stare at Miharu's empty cup before getting back to my usual routine. I slept so soundly last night that I didn't even dream. Dreams. Hard to believe such a concept has taken on a whole new meaning for me. I'd never considered the possibility of a whole other world existing within our dreams, not to mention a goddess like Parsa coming along and connecting me with others through said world. I mean, who could imagine meeting complete strangers within your own dream? It'd be a romanticized situation if it were a shoujo manga, I'm sure. I cast my mind back to the other participants' appearances. That's when I remember something crucial. Naomi's message from yesterday springs to mind. She said that there's definitely something suspicious about that girl and where she's staying. It's not just any old man either. He's Japanese. That man is numeral 5. I might be onto something. Actually, I should have caught on right away. There's still plenty of time before I need to be at school. I want to try something. My decision made, I make my way to the old man's house. Fortunately, I make it all the way without getting lost. It's a pretty tricky route after all, but jotting down the address yesterday turned out to be worth it. But I probably would have been fine without it, considering I've somehow managed to memorize the route. I make sure to keep some distance away to avoid looking suspicious. It may be early in the morning, but people are still passing through. Once the area empties out, I check inside his mailbox. I feel pretty bad about doing this, but it's necessary. There are a slew of letters in here, definitely more than a day's worth. Most of them are from debt collectors. Not just from one collection agency either. There are multiple different senders. I ignore all that, grab a random letter, and remove it from the box. Want to see to whom it's addressed, of course. Well, whoa, what a name. That has to be the name of the old man living here. Just to be sure, I check a few other letters as well. They all cite the same name. All that's left is to get a glimpse of his face. I consider waiting for him to leave the house, but I need to remain mindful at the time. As important as this is, I still have school. Helps that I'm probably safest there, too. Just as I decide to stick around for as long as I can, I notice 2 figures in the distance. 2 figures that I recognize, even. One male, the other female. Both are foreigners and tall. There's still plenty of distance between us, so I can't make out their faces. Not that I need to. I can tell it's them based on their silhouettes. Not only are they participants, but they're also the most dangerous duo by far. Numerals 3 and 6. Federico Carminati and his partner. I instinctively duck for cover. They have to be targeting the girl. Either that or they're looking into the relationship between her and the old man, just as I am. Assuming he turns out to be a participant, it's likely they've tracked him down to here. Numeral 11 is carrying a notepad. I assume she's gotten a hold of his address somehow. In that case, they must be coming for him instead of the girl. After all, she wouldn't be listed as living here. Just as I'm deciding whether to stick around or head to school, the front door gets propped ajar. Noticing this, the duo duck into a nearby alley. From what I can tell, numeral 11's the one who prompts them to do so. That surprises me. She seems like the kind of person to leap in when the opportunity presents itself, so I don't expect her to tread carefully. Both the girl and the old man are likely aware of the situation they put themselves in, so it's only natural for them to scout out their surroundings before they leave the house. Deciding that the coast is clear, the door swings open. Light pours out of the bag all of a sudden. The moment the old man steps out of the house, in fact, that's when I become certain that he is Ushizuka Shigetsugu. His appearance matches what I saw in the dream world, a tenacious-looking old man. I got the impression that he was a shut-in of sorts before, but his current attire of a sweater and loose pants says the opposite. Numeral 11 and Federico remain hidden for some reason. Regardless, I've confirmed that Ishizuka's a bona fide participant. Safe to say that I'm putting myself in danger if I stay any longer. As such, I slink back to the station, taking care not to bump into any of the others. I whispered to Odette when the old-timer leaves his house. She may have whispered, but she's also slammed her foot down to mine. I gotta admit, she's uncharacteristically cautious at times like this. You'd think someone massive like her would charge right in, but nope. She even keeps us a fair distance from the house to ensure we aren't seen. Granted, putting this much distance between us means she gets that her massive body don't lend itself to stealth. Enough about her. Let me recall how we ended up here in the first place. Me and Odette had a talk about who to target after the third election, where that crazy thin Japanese lady got eliminated. Odette's intuition played a big part of us targeting Ro, so we still hadn't made use of the cards we were dealt at the beginning. Knowing there'd be a name or two amongst these initial cards, we decided to go after whoever was in my set. Normally I'd be against showing off my cards, but Odette told me which card she'd taken from Ro immediately afterwards, so... Well, not like she chose to do that without planning to get something in return. Turns out I had that Russian kid's name card, Sofia something something. The kid had been through some rough stuff, but it ain't any of my concern. We took her parents hostage and Odette got her to spill her life story. Thing is, she implied that she had one of Odette's cards. Not only that, but Odette decided to give her some time to screw around. Time to let her get over her regret. Time to let her get over her regret, really. Can't say why she did it, but there ain't no point in trying to get into that woman's head. I wouldn't have been able to learn much about Sophia with just her name, so I decided not to complain. Had things gone according to plan, Odette would have eliminated Sophia, but that Miharu broad one-upped her. Make no mistake, Odette ain't the type to let something like that slow her down. We're the same in that regard. Plenty of things went awry for me back in Italy, but I never took issue with it. In fact, those situations are when people expose their worst side. You gotta make the most of that. Just like I said in the Court of Fate, 2 of the 3 cards dealt to me at the beginning belong to participants that have already been eliminated. Next up is numeral 5. Ushizuka Shigetsugu. Odette had his name card, so we used it to dig up dirt on him, and here we are.
おい、ぼーっとしてんじゃねえ。撤退するぞ。
あ？なんでだよ。相手は GG だ。と捕まえて情報を吐かせりゃいいだろうが。それか、あいつのいないうちに家に入っちまえばいいだろう。
バカかってんだ。これから通勤ラッシュの時間に入る。ただでさえ私らは目立つんだ。通報でもされたら厄介だろう。早朝か深夜にもう一度来る必要がある。ここは住宅街だからな。ソフィアやローの時よりも慎重に行かねえと。
俺より目立つのあんただけどな。
She smashes her foot down on mine again. Guess she isn't too pleased about the implication that she's the only one that stands out.
だけどさ、結局新しい情報は得られなかっただろ。
いや、あの家がジジイの住処だって分かれば死因は予想できる。
ボロっちい家だが、それで分かるのか。いや、なるほどな、だからか。
珍しく察しがいいじゃねえか。言ってみろ。
Figured she spilled the beans if I acted like I caught on, but that didn't go quite as planned. Now I know not to even bother pretending. She smacks my shoulder before she continues.
他に身寄りがないジジイだ。日本じゃそういう連中が孤独死してしばらくしてから発見されるってのは問題になってるらしいじゃねえか。日本は特に閉鎖的なコミュニティ。村社会だっつうから起こりやすいのかもしれねえな。腐った死体やらの清掃なんかを専門にしてる業者すらあるらしい。まあそれはいい。てめえが話を聞いた主婦の言葉を思い出しな。
まあベラベラと喋る太った主婦だったな。
I think back to what she told me. Seems like there were rumors of him kicking the bucket since he rarely left the house.
ガシか。しかし、いくら孤立したジジイでも先進国でガシはないんじゃないか。金の補助は国から受けてたんだろうし。
そうでもないさ。あの主婦はジジイが腰を痛めてることも話してただろ。
Yeah, that's right. She did. Don't know why she remembers more of this stuff than me when I was the one who talked to the woman.
ひどい腰痛ってのは自力で動けなくなることがある。私が船に乗ってた時にもそうなっちまった乗組員はいた。ジジイが家で突然そのレベルの腰痛に襲われたとしよう。元から患ってたんなら突発ではねえけど、とにかく孤立しているから助けを求められない。近所の連中もジジイが家から出てこないのは慣れっこだから気にしない。金だけもらって介護を受けてるわけじゃねえから短期間じゃ訪問もねえ。人間は7日飯を食えなかったら、あるいは3日水が飲めなければ死ぬんだ。
I can tell she's serious by the tone of her voice. Knowing what she's been involved in, I wouldn't be surprised if her crew had come close to starvation at some point. That, or she's seen it happen to one of her shipmates before.
重度の腰痛で動けなくなっちまい、助けも呼べず、そのままガチか。ありえない話じゃないと思うが、そんな早く。
A familiar light emanates from my book. The sign that a new name card has been made. The same thing happened for Audette, too. When she notices, she can't help but grin. It's honestly sickening just how good she is at this.
だけど、動けないほどの腰痛があっても、さっきジジイは外に出てたな。
Just a second. Alright, sorry about that.
ソフィーなんじゃらの時もそうだったが、選定の間は体がある程度回復してるってことなのか。
てめえの予想の通りだろうな。肉体の状態はどこかの時点まで戻されるって考えた方が良さそうだ。
She nods in reaffirmation after repeating what I said. I half expect her to say she doesn't care, so it takes me by surprise. Her expression reverts to its usual state, and then she turns around.
ほらよ、十分収穫はあった。いい加減戻るぞ。
We head back the way we came, making sure not to be spotted by Ushizuka. Or Ishizuka. Maybe. Unbeknownst to Rinka, Alan has been tailing her for the past few days. It brings him to the residential district where Ushizuka Shigetsugu, whose name he has yet to learn, lives. What's more, he has learned the whereabouts of both her school and Lion House. Seeing that she's making her way to school after obtaining the elderly man's name card, he chooses to stop tailing her for the time being. He closes his eyes and recalls her figure.
Rinka.
Eliminating her would prove a simple task, were he to actively focus on it. However, a number of reasons prevent him from doing so. The first is her relationship with numeral 2, Miharu. She may have gone to lengths to make it seem like they had a falling out, but Alan witnessed them being friendly at Lion House. It confirmed to him that they were still cooperating. One cannot target Shishima Rinko without first dealing with Habanata Miharu. Alan has no idea which card she was dealt at the beginning either, which is the main reason for his hesitation in getting involved with her. Her actions during the previous election show that she cannot be underestimated. She may have eliminated a girl far younger than herself, but she went head-to-head with numeral 11 to obtain election rights. The biggest reason of all, however, is that Alan has found himself under suspicion from Japan's police. His recklessness while obtaining Kamabuchi Keiko's information has landed him in a tight spot. He had made sure to scout out the positions of each camera in the hospital and cut off those he couldn't avoid, but something unexpected happened. He somehow ended up on the list of suspects responsible for the attack on the hospital. Under normal circumstances, he would use illegal means to ensure that he would not be arrested, but his current situation does not allow for that. Especially because he holds far less influence in Japan than back in India, where his company is based. He may have some leeway, but now is no time to flex those muscles. Valid as those reasons are, Alan is simply using them as a means to distract himself from the reality of the matter. There is a far simpler reason behind his choice to not pursue Rinka, one that he had noticed earlier. The look in her eyes, it reminded him of himself. Not only does she lack his amassed fortune, but she is also nowhere near as physically imposing, and yet somehow her eyes burned with a determination matching his own.
それよりも
Alan has the chance to learn the old man's name the same way that Rinka did, but he opts not to. To be more accurate, he can't. This is thanks to his spotting a particular duo keeping their eye on the old man's home. Numerals 3 and 11. Alan arrived after Rinka's departure, so They likely had no idea she was also there.
11番の女は確か5番使命を取得していたな。
That was more than enough reason to understand why she was here. With sufficient connections at one's disposal, learning where someone lives based on their name alone is a simple feat. What surprises Alan is the fact that someone like her would cooperate with numeral 3. The sheer stupidity he displayed at the Court of Fate had Alan convinced that he could be left for later, but that was no longer the case if he's with numeral 11. It may not seem like it, but Alan has respect for those who have eliminated other participants. Only 2 people have earned this respect so far. One is Miharu, and the other is numeral 11. Alan can also tell that the latter is no ordinary person. One glance was all he needed to understand her background and the deeds in which she had been involved. Based on what he's seen, she seems to have the upper hand with numeral 3.
男の方は手足か、あるいは鉄砲玉といったところか。まあいい。今すべきは。
Alright, why don't we stop it there? This is audapostrophe. You've been watching Fatal 12 on Nintendo Switch. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed watching. I will see you at the next stream.